for his hand. Does he want to get involved with two aces with such a weak kicker when his opponent has come out and bet on the flop? Look, he takes a deep breath.
Now, Daniel's trying to say he has an ace with a bigger kicker. That's what he wants to make Gus believe. But, of course, we know he doesn't. We get to see his cards. He's only got a 10-queen in his hand. Gus has got the aces.
Well, Gus is thinking now, whew, did I really want to call this hand? With an ace and a 3, now I've hit the ace, and now I still don't know what to do.
The thing is, Gus could lose all his money in this one hand. You play this wrong. And that's why table stakes, no-limit poker is so fascinating. Look at this. Gus is going to call it.
Gus has called him. And look at the look on Daniel's face. He's not too happy.
Oh, man.
He's bluffing. He only has a queen and a 10, remember.
That hurts inside. And here's the 4th street.
An 8 comes off. That's no help to either player.
Now, can Daniel continue to bet and try to bluff at this? He does.
He's bet $40,000. Now, that's not a very large bet into a pot that's nearly $200,000. And Gus picks up on it. Gus picks up on it quickly. He calls $40,000 very quickly there. Now, Daniel is sick now. He's bet at this pot twice.
The river card, deuce of hearts.
A deuce comes off. That's no help. Daniel knows that if he bets here, Gus is probably going to call him.
Go ahead, man.
Essentially, Daniel's given up here. He surrendered. He says, okay, you got me. You called me down twice. I tried to bluff at this pot 3 times. You got me every time. Gus checks. Gus turns up the 2 aces, and he wins the pot.
Oh, it's a miserable look by Daniel, and I don't blame him. He tried to take a shot at this pot.
And Gus takes the chip lead by winning this pot.
A pair of aces with a 3.
That's how it happens here on the World Poker Tour. One big hand like that.
That was a nice pot. There's about $260,000 in that pot, Vince. Really, really good reading by Gus Hansen right there.
Back on Gus. Let's see what he does this time.
Look at that empire he's building around the corner. It's going clear around the corner. It's going to be an Andy stack here in a minute.
Well, look at this. He threw away a hand. He threw away King 4. And Andy finally gets an opportunity with a Jack 4 suited.
Andy calls the big blind.
Daniel's got 6-7 of hearts.
And Daniel checks.
Here's the flop.
The flop is
8-9-9 has come up.
8-9-9.
This gives us an open-ended straight draw to Daniel. That gives Andy block basically nothing.
Andy checks.
Okay, Daniel's going to bet it.
Daniel has come out and bet this
Daniel
pot
bets
$10,000. That's the minimum amount that you can bet now because that's the size of the big blind. And Andy senses weakness, and look at this. Andy is re-raising right here with nothing. He's coming over the top of Daniel. A $40,000 bet.
Now, this is a great play. I mean, he's just absolutely right. He's going to try to take this pot. And he's going to.
And he does. Daniel lays down the open-end straight draw. Vince, I love the instincts that Andy showed right there. He came over the top because he sensed his opponent was weak, which he was, and he picks up a nice pot right there.
That's right, and Shauna's got a chance to talk to this sophisticated attorney from Maryland. Shauna.
He's a lawyer and an MIT graduate. So it's no wonder Andy Block takes a very intellectual approach to poker.
My style is highly mathematical. It's based on game theory. But I adjust it based on my opponents, and I try to occasionally pick off tells from my opponents.
Andy finished 3rd when the World Poker Tour visited Foxwoods earlier this year. At that tournament, Andy's family was there to support him, and he likes to return the favor whenever possible.
I actually take care of my niece frequently. I babysit for her, and it's been really wonderful to see her grow up.
But when he's not busy being Uncle Andy, you can find him at the poker table, using his keen intellect to take home big paydays.
Andy's tough because he only moves all in. He doesn't make plays and he doesn't fart around. Gus is dangerous because he makes plays and fart around and it's hard to know what he's got. Andy goes in with the nuts.
He'll need the nuts if he's going to come out on top today. But Andy thinks his previous final table experience will help.
Every time you make a final table in a $10,000 event or any major poker event, you learn a lot of things. There really is no substitute for that.
Vince, I'll tell you something. Andy Block is one of the nicest guys on the World Poker Tour.
That's very true. He's a very nice guy. But nice guys usually go broke in poker, let's face it. Now, he's made the top 3, but can he beat cutthroat players like Daniel Renser or Gus Hansen?
Well, we've got a lot more to come here from the LA Poker Classic at the Commerce Casino. You're watching the World Poker Tour.
$1.3 million at stake. More than $500,000 will be awarded to the winner of the LA Poker Classic here on the World Poker Tour. And it's down to a 3-way battle between 2 poker pros and an amateur who's making an incredible run.
Here comes Andy again. He's got ace-queen this time, Mike.
Nice hand on the button.
30,000.
He's going to raise it. He comes in for 30,000.
Daniel's got a 9-jack. He chooses not to play this time.
He's going to step back and catch his breath a minute here.
And Mr. Unpredictable.
But here comes Gus. He's got the 10-6 of diamonds. Bang, he doesn't even hesitate. He fires his chips in the pot and calls.
That's a huge hand for Gus.
Gus loves to see flops. He loves to see flops. He's a flop man. We should call him Flop.
Oh, man, and he knows how to play them. Here we go.
Now, flop is 9-9 jack.
Now, look at Daniel. Actually, if he'd have called, he'd have flopped a full house.
That's the truth. In the meantime, Gus has a 10-6. Andy has ace-queen. Look, Andy won't even look over.
He's not even looking anymore. He doesn't want to look at Gus anymore. Sick of him.
He just wants to hear Gus check from now on. He never wants to see Gus bet anymore. And he checks behind him. It goes check, check.
4th card.
Now, king goes on the turn.
So it gives an inside straight draw to Andy.
Now, these are all big cards out there. Gus checks. And Andy checks.
He doesn't want any part of the unpredictable Gus.
The river card is a jack.
Now the jack of hearts comes on the end. So Gus is going to be playing the board. Andy's going to win the pot with ace high.
Andy checks.
But I noticed Andy's getting a little bit timid when he plays Gus now.
Absolutely. And maybe he smells a rat. He doesn't want to get trapped again. And he, look at this smile. He bluffed one. He won one with ace high. Things are good for Andy Block right now. Okay, on Daniel. He's got queen 10. I think he's got to be a little aggravated that he folded that jack 9 last hand. Gus Hansen has an ace deuce of diamonds, and he's going to call it.
And Andy checks.
And Andy's going to be in with a 3 deuce.
So we're going to have a 3-handed pot here. Let's see what the flop brings us.
The flop comes jack 9-6.
9-6.
3 different suits.
Now this gives Daniel an open-end straight draw.
Check.
Now Gus checks on the flop.
Check.
He just has ace deuce of diamonds.
Here comes Daniel. He's going to bet.
Well, he has an open-end straight draw. Gus has ace deuce, and he folds. Andy folds.
So Andy.
Daniel picks up the pot.
You see that sometimes you can win a hand even when you haven't made your hand yet. Daniel knows that.
Well, that was a nice bet by Daniel there, and he finally gives us a smile. It's been a while since he won a pot here.
He's the X factor of the final table, an unknown who won a super satellite tournament to compete for a place among poker's elite. So who is Daniel Renser? When he's not playing poker, Dan is a business student at Pepperdine University. And like many poker greats, his family played a big part in shaping his love of the game.
My brother started when he was about 12 and I was like 9, and I used to play poker with him for pennies and stuff, 5-card draw, 7-card stud, and it just escalated from there.
His brother taught him the basics of the game, but Daniel never stopped studying poker.
I've been studying the game for a long, long time, so all the big names are all pretty much my heroes. TJ Cloutier, Amarillo Slim, Doyle Brunson. I've been watching them forever. I've read all their books and stuff, so they all pretty much push me, to play better.
Dan used those lessons here at Commerce to bust former world champion Carlos Mortensen.
I had ace-king suited and he had pocket queens. Then he came over the top and he re-raised me by another 100,000 chips. And I just moved all in because I figured he was just trying to outplay me, trying to muscle me or something. And then he had a better hand and I got lucky. I caught the ace and it just boosted me way up in all my chips.
Although Daniel loves poker, he's not focusing on turning pro. Instead, he's happy to play the occasional tournament, letting the chips fall where they may.
I just love playing poker, Poker's just, it's draining, But it's fun. It's fun.
Right now, our current chip standing. Gus Hansen is the chip leader with about 570,000 in chips. Daniel's in second place with about 440,000, and Andy's in third place with about 350,000. It's anybody's game, Vince.
For Daniel, the dream is still alive.
And Gus has the button
Gus is
now.
going to take a look at his hand. He's got a 3-10 of clubs. Look at him. This guy doesn't know what throwaway means.
32,000.
He raises it with a 10-3.
Andy Block has picked up an ace and a 10, and that's a pretty good hand, three-handed. Now, he'd really love to snag Gus at one of these big pots.
Well, he's trying him again. He's going to call him with the ace-10.
Battle of wits between these two guys.
Daniel folds. He has an 8-5. So once again, we're going to have a pot between Gus and Andy. Andy doesn't know it, but he's in a dominating position. It's ace-10 versus 10-3.
Flop comes Jack, 5.
Sure
trade,
enough.
32.
Gus has flopped a 3.
He's got a little pair.
Now he just has the bottom pair.
Andy checks.
Andy checks, and Gus checks right behind him.
Fourth street
Now a
comes
10?
up. Oh, no.
Now a 10 comes off. Now this gives Gus 2 pair, but it gives Andy a pair of 10s with an ace kicker. Andy has checked this card. Gus has 2 pair, and he's reaching for chips.
Now, this is a potential disaster for Andy Block.
Yes, it is. This 10 could get him in big trouble here,
Gus
but
is
we'll
gonna
see.
bet 35,000.
Gus bets 35,000. Now Gus has 2 pair, 10s and 3s. Andy has an ace and a 10.
And look at this. He can't wait to get his
Andy
chips in
Well,
there.
I'd call too if I was him. He called for 35,000. He doesn't know the guy's got 10s and 3s.
Yeah, but even a jack beats you.
Well,
here we go.
And now
Last
a 3.
card. Oh,
and a 3
man.
comes off. Whoa.
Jack,
Hallelujah
10-5.
for Gus Hansen. He's just hit a full house on the last card.
I'll tell you, this is amazing.
Andy
And
checks.
Andy checks it.
Andy checks it.
Now, Andy's got 10s and 3s
Now,
with an ace kicker.
Now, it doesn't look like this card could have hurt Andy's hand. Now, Gus is certainly going to bet. It's just a matter of how much.
Oh, yeah, he's doing a little acting job here.
140.
Well, here it is.
140,000.
Gus bets
There it is. He's going to bet 140,000, he said. 140,000 is a big bet right now, especially for Andy. More than half his stack will be going in this pot here.
Oh, he doesn't want to scare Andy away. He wants this call desperately.
Well, I'm telling you, if you're sitting in Andy's seat, you have a tough decision here. I mean, you really got to believe that your 2 10s with the ace kicker is the best hand. Remember, Gus didn't bet this flop when it come Jack 5-3. He bet when the 10 came on the turn. Now, the 10 was a good card for Andy because it gave him 2 10s with an ace kicker.
It's like he's putting Andy's head in a vice. This is a tough position to be in.
Andy Block is faced with a big, big decision right now in this tournament. Will he make a big laydown here, or will he call? What a nice bet by Gus here, 140,000. It looks like he's stealing the pot, you know.
Right.
If you're sitting in Andy's seat, you think, is this guy stealing? Did he have a draw on 4th Street?
Well, that's the great thing about Gus's game. It's so unpredictable. He's moving around so fast, you don't know when he has a hand or not.
I mean, you can really see the dilemma Andy is in here. And believe me, folks, he is in a dilemma.
$500,000 for the first prize here, over $500,000.
I mean, we know he doesn't have the best hand, but I can tell you, if you're sitting in Andy's seat, you got to think 2 10s with an ace kicker. The way this hand was played is probably the best hand. This will be a big, big laydown if he makes this laydown. He's not making it. He's calling.
He
He's going to call it.
He's not going to like it either.
Andy says call.
Andy Block is called.